welcome to episode 556 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering. What's up? The World Championship is this weekend.
Yes, it is. I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And on today's show, we are indeed talking about said World Championship happening in said this weekend. Down in Las Vegas.
In said Las Vegas.
In said Las Vegas. It's going to be very, very exciting. And we want you to be ready to watch all of the action unfold at home on twitch.tv/magic. Or if you happen to be at the venue, you can peek over and see what's going on over there by getting you ready. Last week we talked about draft. There's going to be a lot of draft at the World Championship. And it's going to matter, in fact, more than it has at a lot of other World Championships because there's fewer rounds.
There's fewer rounds. There's only 7 rounds each day. 3 are draft and 4 are standard.
Right.
So usually the breakdown is 3 and 5 at a Pro Tour.
Right. So draft mega important, which I'm here for.
Yes.
And 2, standard being the format is going to be very cool because we now have a new set, Wilds of Eldraine, which has shaken things up. And we want you to be ready. If you want to play any of these decks at home or at FNM, at your LGS or whatever, there's some very cool stuff out there right now.
Yeah. You might be like, hey, I'm not going to watch the World Championship. That's fine, but we still have information that is pertinent to you in your Magic playing life.
Absolutely. And also just, a lot of people don't even play Magic who listen to this podcast.
Do you know what? That's
quite frankly.
Quick shout out to everyone who listens to this podcast has not played a lick of Magic.
Hey, we're also here for you,
Yep. Sam, looking at you. 2 Sams, actually.
Oh, yeah.
There are 2 Sams.
Double Sam.
Actually, there are 3.
3 Sams?
There are 3 Sams that I know of who have listened to our podcast.
Yeah, that is a good point. There
and
are
who do
3.
not play Magic the Gathering.
If you're a Sam number 4, hey,
so
just
if
let us know.
you're a Sam who listens to our podcast and does not play Magic the Gathering, shout out to you.
Oh my God, I would love to know. We just get a bucket
More
of Sams.
So
hopefully you'll have a good time anyway.
Yes. We also, in addition to the shout out to the Sams.
Yeah, shout out
to our patrons.
Yay, patrons.
Everyone who supports the show over on patreon.com/GLHF Magic, making this show happen for the Magic and non-Magic players.
Yes, we have a Sam bucket. We also have a patron pool party.
It's great.
A pool party of patrons. That's the noun. What's it called? The collective noun for our patrons.
Yes.
And if you want to join our pool party, you can. It's so easy. It's like $1 a month.
Yep.
If you want. That's as low as you can go.
As low as you can go. Thank you so much to new patron MTG Pack a Day.
Yay, MTG Pack a Day. Thank you.
MTG Pack a Day. You've started a healthy habit with your Patreon donation. That's a really old reference. Isn't it wild that honestly references to smoking cigarettes are dated?
Yeah, what were you talking about? Like a pack a day? Was there some kind of ad about oh, that's too much?
Or that was a measurement of how much people smoked.
Oh, well,
knowing
for sure.
smokers who smoke a pack a day.
Yes.
It's
wild to think about that.
Which is absolutely wild.
They were posters all over my elementary school that were anti-smoking, and there's a bunch of animals smoking cigarettes, and it was like, this is how dumb you look too, or something like that. And I was like, whatever, those animals look cool.
Do you know what? There's a lot of ways to tell people not to smoke. Don't smoke. It will kill you.
Yeah, it's very, very, very bad for you.
It is one of the few things in the world that you can do that will just straight up kill you over time.
And
but don't try and sell it by saying don't try and sell not smoking by saying that you don't look cool because you do look cool. Okay, you do.
Sorry, there's a lot we can say about it, but it looks cool. That's just a fact.
Do it. For everyone who says that they listen to this podcast with your kids, PSA to kids, don't smoke. It will kill you.
There's another one I remember that was kissing a smoker is like licking an ashtray, and it had somebody licking an ashtray as the photograph.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
The duck smoking,
disgusting.
Bad ad, very cool duck. What were we talking about? Oh, MTG Pack a Day.
MTG Pack a Day. A much healthier habit.
Yes, indeed. If you want to be as cool as that duck smoking a cigarette or MTG Pack a Day, please become a patron. Patreon.com/GLHF Magic. Join our awesome Discord community to talk about whatever you want in your magical life, even non-magic stuff. Obviously, I have an Our Flag Means Death channel in there, which I promote almost all
Very
the time.
True.
And
honestly, at this point, I think that we should start an X-Files channel.
I mean, seriously, X-Files channel. Season 2, Our Flag Means Death starts in 17 days on Max. Check it out. I'm saying that because the actors can't promote it. but I
yeah,
can.
That's true. Maria can.
Anyway, thank you, patrons.
Yeah.
You make the world go round. Thank you as well to Card Kingdom. You can check them out on the internet at cardkingdom.com/GLHF. Get yourself a box of Wilds of Eldraine, draft it with your pals, and just get whatever you want for your magical life.
Absolutely. It's a great place to go. Cardkingdom.com.
Love to
/GLHF.
look at their like singles and stuff. And if you're going to Vegas, what a great opportunity to bring a fancy card that you might want one of the artists who's going to be there to sign.
Yeah.
Because they'll do like cool signatures, like 3-dimensional signatures or signatures with sparkly pens or whatever.
I wish that I had thought of that before. Honestly, very honestly, wish that I had thought of that before this moment.
Yeah, I know. I just thought of it. I'm like, oh man, what do I need to get signed?
The next time you're going to a Magic event, see what artists are going to be there.
Yeah.
Order some singles from Card Kingdom and get some really cool signatures.
Yeah, I just love that. That's a very cool part of Magic Cons. So yeah, check them out on the internet at cardkingdom.com/GLHF.
Okay, Maria, I know that I already texted you a little bit about this. But X-Files update.
Okay, X-Files update.
Which I mostly need to talk about because there's an episode set in Minneapolis in season 2.
Yeah, you told me about this and I was like, what episode set in Minneapolis? I couldn't remember.
So it's the episode with okay, this episode is wild. It's the episode with the guy who's like a necrophiliac who like cuts the hair and steals hair and fingernails from bodies.
Yes, I remember that.
But then becomes a murderer.
Okay.
So that he can and then he gets obsessed with Scully and kidnaps her.
How is this an X-File?
Okay, so fun story. One, it is good. The guy who played. Okay, I have so many things to say about this episode.
Okay, great.
Okay, one, it's a good episode. Two, they originally pitched this episode not as like anything paranormal happening, and Fox was like, that's too Fox Studios was like, that's too messed up. Like, this is really messed up. You have to have it have a paranormal element because like this otherwise like this episode is just dark.
Yeah.
And so there's like parts of it where Scully and like another guy see this guy as a demon. Right.
Oh, okay.
But also it's not explained because the premise of the episode was not an X-File.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really remember anything other than the fingernail thing you said.
It's very I just bring it up because it was very funny that they're like talking to like the chief of police and he's like, this isn't one of those big cities. He's in Minneapolis.
It's unbelievable.
This isn't one of those big cities. People here don't lock their doors at night.
Okay.
And then, so like Mulder and the police chief are like downtown, and Scully lands back in Minneapolis at the airport and is driving to meet them downtown, drives through, I kid you not, like a forest, like just a full-on forest where she gets like run off the road by the creeper.
Surely it's the same as Vancouver where we're filming this and there's forests between airports and towns.
It's so funny because it's just like they have no concept of what Minneapolis is like.
No show does. No show does.
At all.
In Succession, famously, one of the best characters, Tom Wambsgans, is from St. Paul, and they treat it like it is the most backwater, like tiny town population,
so
30. It's just like, come on. We are a major metropolitan area, everybody.
We really are. It's the freaking capital of the state. The other part about it is that like Mulder's like thing at the end is like they keep calling this guy. They're like, oh, like the face, the face of something so terrible is hidden behind the mask of an ordinary man. Only a guy would look at that man's behavior and say that's an ordinary man. Every femme person who would have encountered that man would have clocked him as a bad, would have just clocked. Like, they're just like, nope. That is a trouble that I should not get near. It was just very funny because multiple times Mulder's just like, or other guys are just like, the mask he's just an ordinary looking guy. The mask of an ordinary man.
Well,
and every woman who encounters him is like,
that dude's creepy.
No. Hard no.
Well, Spooky Mulder not living up to his nickname there with this guy. Am I right? Jeez.
Anyway, so that's your X-Files update. It was just very funny to me.
Yeah.
Minneapolis, where there's a full forest between our airport and our downtown. They are tops 15 minutes away from each other.
Oh my god.
There's a point at which they go looking for Scully because the guy's like, she landed 3 hours ago. And I'm like, you should have been worried 2 hours ago then.
It takes 3 hours to get through the forest of Minneapolis.
Of Minneapolis.
Oh, a witch asks you 3 riddles and gives you a pair of snow boots.
Oh my god. Anyways, that's all. That's your X-Files update.
All right, everybody, let's get you ready for the World Championship this weekend.
We're gonna kick it off by starting with wow. That's like a real redundancy there.
Kicking it off by starting. We're gonna kick it off by starting.
Getting the ball rolling with
and
standard.
diving in.
Diving into standard.
This World Championship is a bit unusual, everyone, in case you don't know. It's a very large field format tournament this time around.
It's a little over 100 players.
More than 100 players. The previous 10 years, by the way, have only been like 16 or 32 players. So this is the first time in a decade that we've had a World Championship this big, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that because small field tournaments are cool in their own way. But for a World Championship, I don't know. I think I'm a fan of this because people have made it here by top 8ing in Pro Tours or by doing super well at their regional championship. So we're going to have people playing in this who, you might not be a known name in Magic because they won at their RC and then might do well at the World Championship, which is very exciting.
Very, very cool.
So we've got a lot of people playing in this tournament. It's double format, so we've got draft and standard, and we talked about how important draft is going to be in this tournament specifically because there's fewer rounds. So we'll see limited masters perhaps rising to the top in this tournament. And if you were interested in any talk about limited, we talked about it the previous 2 weeks on this show. So this week we're going to focus in on standard.
We've talked about it the previous 2 weeks on the show. Has it made me any better at it? The answer is a firm no.
I still think it's very fun, though.
I mean, I'm having a great time, but I cannot win a match of Magic to save my freaking life.
It's tough out there. It's tough out there in this format. Have you been playing Standard, though?
I have been playing Standard, Maria.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Just yesterday, I went through, I picked up exactly one Standard deck, had a really fun time. And to be fair, I started out in the bottom of bronze because I don't remember the last time that I played a ranked constructed format. But I won something like 6 matches in a row.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
All right. So you told me before we started rolling that you were playing a deck that I would be surprised by.
Yes. That it would not be that. Yeah. The answer would surprise you.
Okay. I'm going to just guess because the most surprising answer to me of the known decks in Standard that you could have been playing would have been Azorius Soldiers.
That is not.
Okay. All right. The second most surprising one to me would have been mono red aggro.
Wow. Also not.
Okay.
I'll say it's surprising, but it's not that. So it's not as surprising as like, wow, who am I?
Oh my gosh.
It is a little wow, who am I? Because I would say that this is a strategy that usually I get mad at.
Mono white?
No, I have been playing Golgari midrange.
Golgari midrange.
Which now is the top deck. So when I was looking through yesterday, on MTG Goldfish, Esper Control was the top deck. And then there were a couple of more, and Golgari midrange was somewhere around 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
But as of today, it's the most popular. And I am unsurprised because the deck was just wildly powerful.
I mean, it looks great. So let's talk about it. It's ranked number 1 based on Saturday and Sunday challenges in a Melee event that Frank Karsten has been diving into some data for us over on magic.gg. Let's take a peek. I mean, the cards in here are kind of absurd, and there's a lot of new ones from Wilds of Eldraine too, which is really neat. It's got one of my favorite cards. Like, if you're like, what do you want, pack one, pick one? If you're drafting Wilds of Eldraine, it has my answer, which might seem very boring, but have you played with this card, Mosswood Dread Knight?
Yes, and it is so good.
I love this card.
It's so good.
Everybody,
it's absurd.
Have you played with this card? 1 in a green, Human Knight, 3/2. It's got the adventure of Dread Whispers, 1 in a black, sorcery, draw a card and lose a life. Okay, you're like, whatever. The creature's a 3/2. Who cares? Trample, by the way. When it dies, though, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. So you can just keep on doing that for as long as you want. I mean, it's great.
And you get both, specifically, you get both halves of the card.
It just never dies.
It's so good.
You best exile that friend.
Exactly. They need to be able to exile it somehow.
Okay, so tell me what this deck's deal is. I mean, it's mid-range, so it's doing the mid-range thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But why is it so good?
Because it has so much card advantage. And you know my gripe. Stop giving card advantage to other colors. It is blue's thing.
Well,
but you have like Mosswood Dread Knight, like we were saying.
Yep.
Like you just get both halves of it again and again and again. Same with Tenacious Underdog. If you cast it for its blitz cost, either from your hand or out of the graveyard.
God, I forgot about Tenacious Underdog. Exactly. I love that card though.
When it dies, you draw a card.
Is this card hot?
It's
Remember this game?
Yep.
Oops, this card is hot.
Oops.
Tenacious Underdog started that game.
Oops, they're hot.
3-2.
Yes. Exactly. It's got Virtue of Persistence, which is just like it's a great card, right? You can play it early, and then later on, you have that big ol' enchantment that they need to do something about.
Virtue of Persistence is, I think, the number one most played card amongst the decks that Frank Kirsten has compiled for us here.
Yeah.
So the sorcery half of it is you give target creature -3/3 until end of turn, and crucially, I think you gain 2 life because it's helping you stay to the late game when you can cast the other big half of this, which just reanimates creatures from graveyard.
Yes, exactly. And then it just has it's like classic. It's just classic Value Town, which is green black
Value Town.
Like it has lots of ways for you to go ahead and like if you need to exile stuff. Like the number of times that I have actually taken out Virtue of Persistence or ended up never casting that half is like very high because if someone else gets to it first, I just more proactively exile graveyards.
Sure.
Because there's so many ways to do it. You have Graveyard Trespasser, and specifically, like exiling the creatures that they would try to reanimate.
Yeah.
Lord Skitter.
Lord Skitter.
I know. So great. So, what a rat.
This deck also plays Blossoming Tortoise.
I was going to say, and also, but at the same time, if they're not doing that, then it has ways for you to proactively get cards into your graveyard and ramp a little with Blossoming Tortoise.
Blossoming Tortoise will help you get those cards into the yard and ramp you. And you also get the creature land from the set 2, Restless Cottage.
Oh, the number of times that I've killed people with the Restless Cottage, quite high.
It turns into a 4/4.
Exactly.
That's not small.
It is not. And then also okay, so I had this wild game against the Casade deck.
Oh.
Right? That Cascade deck is very, very cool.
We'll get to that, everybody.
Yeah. Great card. Great deck also. But the first time that I played against it, I beat it fairly easily. You have a lot of hand disruption that you can board in and stuff and a lot of pressure. But then the second time there was a game where I was this game went on for so long and had so many moments when I was like, I'm going to win. So many moments where I'm like, my opponent's going to win and there's no way I can come back from this. And then I ended up winning by the classic, okay, this game has gone on so long. There's so much happening. They've used so much removal that I land a Shieldred the Apocalypse. They just never draw removal for it.
Yep.
Right? Because at this point they've run themselves out of it and we're kind of at that state of parity in the game. And then I end up winning by just preserving my life total until Shieldred kills them.
Wow. Shieldred, still good.
Exactly. Still good.
You also get to play Liliana of the Veil. What? Is this a modern deck? I'm still going to keep making that joke forever. This deck looks extremely strong, and I would be
it's super powerful.
Not be surprised to see it do really, really well this weekend.
And when I say that I won 6, honestly, maybe more. I was not keeping track of the matches, but I did not lose a match yesterday playing this.
Yeah.
And I won against the blue-black fairies deck that people are playing. I won against Cascade a couple of times. I won against Control multiple times.
Interesting.
If
mid-range can beat Control, that's a good sign.
It has game against a lot of stuff, so.
All right, Megan's made her pitch, everybody.
Yeah.
Golgari mid-range.
It also has for the Cascade decks, use sideboard and Breach the Multiverse and just steal their stuff. The number I had an opponent just auto concede 2 games in a row when I cast this and then cast their Atali off of it and then cast something else off of the
Beautiful.
Cast 2 more things off of Atali. Great.
Since we've been talking about this Cascade deck, let's talk about it just because it's just really fun.
It's really cool.
Everyone, this is a deck that I've been messing around with, and I had to because it just sounds absolutely absurd, and it is.
It is.
So
quite good.
It's a Cascade combo deck enabled by what's the Invasion of Alara. I couldn't remember the something of Alara. The Invasion of Alara and Bramble Familiar. You remember that little raccoon that's an elemental in this that came out in Wild of Eldraine? Pretty cute.
Yeah.
Turns out this raccoon can destroy you. So here's how this deck works, everybody.
This raccoon can destroy
raccoon
you.
loves playing in the trash, and by trash I mean it's gonna trash you in a game of Magic. So if you're able to, I mean, it is Wooburg to cast Invasion of Alara. If you're able to get there, we've got a lot of lands that have,
But also regularly have had people cast it on turn 5 against me.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not too hard because you've got those lands like Spara's Headquarters or Fiend's Tower, Jetmir Garden, etc. Those that essentially give you 3 colors each. Invasion of Alara comes out turn 5, right? And what it does is it cascades spells from the top of your deck until you hit something that has a lower CMC. And the only thing that it can hit in this deck is Bramble Familiar. So this is just like a 2/2 raccoon, right?
Yeah.
But the deal is that it has an adventure, which is Fetch Quest for 5 green. And the way Cascade works and the way that adventure is worded means that you can cast either half of this Bramble Familiar. So you could cast a raccoon, but you're not going to because you're going to cast Fetch Quest, which says mill 7 cards, then put a creature, enchantment, or land card from among them onto the battlefield.
Quite good.
So you cast your Invasion of Alara, you hit your Bramble Familiar because you have no choice but to hit it, and then you mill 7 and you bring something back. Now, hopefully you hit Cemetery Desecrator. That's your number 1 target, okay? Because what happens when Cemetery Desecrator comes in, one of the options that you have is remove X counters from target permanent, where X is the mana value of an exiled card. You exile something from your graveyard. You exile something with mana value, sorry, I keep saying CMC, mana value 7 from your graveyard. You remove 7 counters from Invasion of Alara, which is the battle that you've put onto the battlefield. It automatically transforms, and then you get to have so much value. You put other stuff onto the battlefield, you copy a permanent, you distribute counters, you kill something. Like, there's almost zero way your opponent can come back into the game.
I will say, as many times as I had people cast Invasion of Alara, I never had someone Cemetery Desecrator it.
That's the number 1 hit.
Which I understand, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's extremely fun. If this sounds like your jam, try it out because it's really, really, really fun. However, it is very, very vulnerable to things like hand disruption, which Meghan mentioned.
Yes.
Because it's a combo deck.
Guess what? You play 4 copies of Duress and a Pilfer.
Yeah, I don't think
it's a little rough.
Yeah, it's going to be a little hard for you. You just got to top deck that thing.
Yeah. And also, like I said, the number of times, it's really cool to see it go off, but also the number of times that it's like, I'll be honest, there's a lot of decks that you can play against right now that if you just hit Atraxa and fill your hand,
sure,
not good enough.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually.
A wild thing to say.
Yeah, this deck also plays Atraxa, as do other ramp decks in Standard right now. But sometimes it's just too slow.
Yeah. There's times when this deck does not quite get it done.
We're talking about little 3/2s for 2 mana over in Meghan's Golgari list. You've got to be ready for that.
Pretty nice.
Which is part of the reason that Virtue Persistence is so great because of the -3/-3 and gain 2 life, right? But sometimes you just can't stay alive long enough for that to matter. So I think it's a very, very cool deck. I'm not sure if the pros will be into it this weekend because it is kind of high risk, high reward.
Yes.
Which might not be the place they want to be at the World Championship.
But it is really cool.
It is very cool.
Very powerful.
It's very cool, very innovative. So big thumbs up to Invasion of Alara, everybody.
There's also another 5-color deck.
Yes.
Which is the more classic kind of just 5-color domain deck that we've seen a bunch of recently. This is the one that plays a bunch of stuff like Topiary Stomper.
Stomp, stomp.
To go and put, more lands into play. This one plays 3 copies of Atraxa Grand Unifier.
Yeah, that's this deck's Invasion of Alara.
Yes, exactly. It has some, nice removal spells. It has Sunfall and Drag to the Bottom as some sweepers, which really get the job done. It has Herd Migration, and this also has, like you said, Virtue Persistence, just everywhere. Good early, good late, busted card.
Yeah. It also plays 4 copies of Bramble Familiar because it allows you to fix your mana, the raccoon side. And I kind of dismiss the raccoon side, but...
Don't you dare dismiss this little raccoon.
You can fix your mana. You can bounce him back to your hand even if you want to later on play your Fetch Quest with him.
Fetch Quest is so cute.
I mean,
that's a cute name.
It's a cute name. It's a cute card.
It's really cute.
This deck also, of course, just like the Invasion deck, runs Leyline Binding because you can cast it for a single white mana all the time.
Absurd. Very good.
So this is just a kind of a different flavor of doing something big, bad, and dumb in Standard right now. We mentioned when I was talking to Megan, I was like, was I surprised by mono red aggro? And the answer was no, but it exists.
It exists, absolutely. We've still got Monastery Swiftspear up in here. I mean,
That's a weird thing to think about.
like an iconic mono red card. This is so good.
Iconic.
Single red for a 1/2 haste with prowess. Just really good.
We get a new card in mono red thanks to Wilds of Eldraine, which is Godric Cloaked Reveler. Do you know this card? Heard about this card?
No, tell me about him.
It's really good. 1 red for a 3/3 haste and has celebration. As long as 2 or more non-land permanents, blah, 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 enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Godric is a dragon with power and toughness 4/4, flying, and red. Dragons you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So it gets fire breathing.
Wow.
Godric, good job.
Godric's secretly dragon.
Godric is secretly a dragon.
And when he gets really happy at a party, he turns into
he
one.
turns into his dragon.
I'm having a great time at this party.
Oh God, make sure Godric doesn't have too much fun. And you're like, oh yeah, sure, of course we will, Mom and Dad. And then you're like, no, I'm serious. If he has too much fun.
Godric cannot come and have fun at your birthday, okay?
He will burn your house down. And I don't think you have insurance for dragon fire.
Very nice of them to continue inviting him to parties.
That is very nice though. Godric
well, maybe that's why he's cloaked. He has to sneak into every party now because everyone on Eldraine is like, no, dude, you cannot come to my party.
And all of a sudden, your party's burning down around you and you're like, dang it, Godric! Godric again.
Godric, where are you?
So mono red gets Godric. It also gets Charming Scoundrel. From Wilds, which is 1 and a red for a 1/1 haste. And when she enters the battlefield, you get to choose one. You can discard and draw. You can create a treasure or make a Wicked Roll token. So just some nice value.
Yeah.
And plus, that's going to trigger Godric, of course, if you choose one of the things that gives you another permanent entering the battlefield this turn. In a mono red, that's not really too much of an ask because you can play a lot of cheap creatures.
Yeah. Very nice.
So it seemed, I don't know, I think it seems strong. It's a strong choice.
I agree.
That's mono red.
Next up, we have Esper Midrange. This is a deck. It's been around.
This is a deck.
It's been happening.
So Esper mid-range or mid-range adjacent decks have been in standard now, have kind of been the powerhouse for a while. But they didn't really get as many new cards as Green did.
Yeah, it's very true.
Wilds of Eldraine. So I think that's why we're seeing this fall off at least a little bit on this list from Magic.gg.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, like this first list that just comes up. None so far.
Yeah. It's just your classic Wandering Emperor. You're playing Kaido. You're playing Dennick. Rafine, of course, the reason for the season in this deck. Sheoldred.
You get
very
one
mastermind.
of the creature lands.
Yeah, you get the black-white creature land.
Restless Fortress.
Yeah. So, just basically what you would imagine, and Esper Midrange has been imagining for quite a while.
Yeah.
I think a deck that more people are a little bit more excited about in the Esper color pairs is Esper Legends, which is a very similar looking deck, but plays more legends, as the name would suggest.
Yep. Most notably added to this is Adeline Resplendent Cathar. This is the card that's just like makes it more of, hey, we're going all out, being aggro with these legendary creatures.
These legendary legends.
Yep. You've also got Skrelv in this one.
Yeah, Skrelv, I love Skrelv.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous card.
Skrelv.
This one did add a single copy of the list we're looking at here, a single copy of Lord Skitter Sewer King. So Lord Skitter is skittering around to a bunch of different decks here in Standard.
So cute.
And you're just running all legends all the time. You've still got Dennick, just like the other one. You've still got Thalia. You've still got Rafine. You've got Urtai. You've got Rona. I love that people are playing Fairy Mastermind here in Standard as well.
Absolutely. Really cool to see yet another of those World Championship cards.
Yes. Turns out that it is indeed powerful enough to show up in these decks, which I think is very neat.
Like we were saying before, Esper Control up until just very recently was one of the top played decks, still up here at the top, but has fallen a little bit. Of course, it's got the classic Wandering Emperor, a big reason to play white still.
Well,
since it came out. Sunfall.
Excuse me.
And Farewell. Memory Deluge is kind of the other big piece, right? This is the other reason that you want to play Control.
I played against this deck the other day when I was playing Cascade. Destroyed it, no big deal.
Nice.
Which I found kind of actually surprising.
Yeah,
they might have
surprising.
just had bad draws, but Yeah, this one, I mean, keep it clean, man. There's like nothing in here. Just Wandering Emperor and a bunch of removal.
Yep.
Creatures, never heard of them.
Draw cards. I'm going to draw cards and counter spells and kill things.
Ugh, yuck, I can't even look at that deck anymore, sorry. You mentioned playing against fairies, which a new archetype has been spawned with Wilds of Eldraine, and even though it might be one of the lower performing decks in Limited, that doesn't mean it can't hold its own in Standard.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if players feel like this deck is good enough to bring to the World Championship.
Yeah, me too.
It has some, it has some really cool cards. It's playing 4 Sleep Cursed Fairy. This is the single blue 3/3.
Oh, yeah.
That has flying and ward 2. It enters the battlefield tapped with 3 stun counters on it. You can pay 1 and a blue to untap it.
That card's great.
Yeah, very good. When they played it, I was like, what is this?
You're like, oh, so 1 blue 3/3, squeeze me?
Yep. Of course, it's got Fairy Mastermind.
Oh, yeah.
It has Halo Forager, which I think is pretty cool.
Halo
Seeing this little
Forager.
uncommon make it.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It runs Obraya, a Dreaming Duelist, which we talked about in our Limited Archetypes episode because it's a signpost uncommon for blue-black here, which is the 2/2 whenever you play another fairy, each opponent loses a life.
Yeah.
Which I think is very cool. And then you've just got a lot of removal and tempo to back up your fairies. So classic fairies deck.
Yeah. I will say, when I played against it, I felt a little like maybe their, like you said, maybe their draws were bad.
Yeah.
Like I felt like the power level from my side, where like looking at it, felt low.
I agree.
But also, maybe the deck just wasn't, maybe it was having a bad day.
I also defeated fairies playing Cascade.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a cool deck, and I hope that it continues to kind of make a name for itself in Standard because I love typal decks, and I also love tempo. So I think, fingers crossed that Fairies continues to get some tools to be able to make itself even better as we have more sets coming out too.
Yeah.
Let's take a peek at Naya tokens, by the way.
Yeah.
Because this is another kind of newer deck that I think is really neat that we're seeing here in this list of standard decks. I've seen green-white tokens as well be a thing. But in here, we're playing Wedding Announcement, of course, because we're playing a tokens deck. We also get to play one of my favorite cards from Wilds of Eldraine, which is Virtue of Loyalty.
Really good.
I mean...
Yeah.
I had this in my seal deck. You all might remember. You can make an instant that makes you a 2/2 night creature token. And then the other half of it, that's the adventure half. The other half is at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and then untap those creatures. And that costs 5 mana, which I think is a very acceptable rate for the incredible power that you're getting by adding so many tokens to the board. Pia Nilar is in this version of this deck. Monastery Swift Spear, Voldaren Thrill Seeker. I don't know. I just think maybe there's a home for tokens.
This
thanks
is a strange
to Virtue
little deck, but I would
Loyalty.
love to see it in play.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Virtue can become a thing because if there's a deck where you can put counters on a lot of little creatures, I'm in.
In 2023, can Virtue become a thing?
Some would say no.
Many would say fat chance.
So Azorius Soldiers is a deck that they've been trying to make fetch happen for a long time with this. And I personally, I keep waiting for it to happen and it just like kind of never really does. But maybe it will have its moment.
Yeah. I mean, I will say Harbin Vanguard Aviator is a heck of a card.
Yes, it is.
This is the 1 and a white for a 3/2 flyer human soldier. Whenever you attack with 5 or more soldiers, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain flying until end of turn. And this is a deck that wants to put that many creatures into play or more.
And it's just a 3/2 for 2 mana on top of it, which I think is,
And it itself does not have to attack, so you can have 5 other soldiers and play this and get the bonus on all of them when you attack.
I mean, if people aren't running like a lot of mass removal spells, like you mentioned, Esper Control is not really, super near the top of the leaderboard as far as this list is concerned. That's when creatures generally can have their day. I don't know. I also love this list, and I'm curious to see if it can make a splash here this weekend. I'm doubtful because Golgari existing and Esper existing are kind of 2 decks that hate on this kind of smaller creature strategies, but I don't know.
You never know.
You never know. And then finally, we're going to close things out here on enchantments.
This is just for you.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it.
But enchantment's still running around because we've got Catilda Dawnheart Martyr still. This is the 1/white star flying lifelink protection from vampires. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. And then it has Disturb for 3 white.
So this deck has been around for a long time, thanks to Generous Visitor, Jukai Naturalist, Spirited Companion.
Hallowed Haunting.
Yeah, Hallowed Haunting.
Card's pretty sick.
I mean, I love this deck when it first came out. I was so excited because it was so close to Boggles. It felt very boggly. But it just like it had one tournament that it crushed, and then it kind of, disappeared forever.
Yeah.
We're adding to this deck with the Royal Treatment,
which is that's a nice add.
It's a great trick.
A hexproof that also adds to your enchantments.
Yeah, so it gives them the Royal Roll token, makes them hexproof. Yep. I don't know. Who's to say that this couldn't be the thing?
Could be.
We've been surprised before, I'll tell you that, especially by little enchantment decks like this.
Yep, exactly.
Over the past year.
Madsen got second.
Yep.
Back in Philadelphia earlier this year.
So there's a look at some of the top decks in Standard right now. You've made me want to go and try the Golgari midrange deck.
Maria, do you know what? It's powerful. And I also, do you know what I will say? Like I said, sometimes it really frustrates me. Just let blue have its thing, please. But I do really appreciate, I think that I've been enjoying it because I do like a strategy right now where, especially because recently with Limited, it felt like Limited for a while in formats like Kaldheim, it's like, oh, I can just push value. And if you push value hard enough, you're going to get there with that deck. Whereas recently there's been some formats where it's like, it doesn't matter how much value you have. You can get aggroed out pretty quickly.
Yes.
And so I think that it's just been a place where it's like, oh yeah, I can literally just make decisions playing this deck that are about maximizing the value that I'm getting. And that is like in a lot of games and a lot of strategies, like the correct thing to be doing with the deck. And so I've been enjoying that, where it's just like, okay, if I'm sitting down to like think about my turn, I'm just going to be like, what gets me the most?
I love that.
Which is pretty cool. I
love a deal.
Yeah, exactly. It is a deck,
full of deals. So if you're interested in seeing any of these decks or ones that we don't know about that the pros might bring, please tune in this weekend. The coverage is starting on Friday and it goes Saturday and Sunday. Of course, Sunday is the top 8, starting at, I want to say, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time starting on Friday on twitch.tv/magic. We'd love to see you there. I think it's going to be a great tournament. Kicking things off with draft. If you love draft, which you might because you listen to this podcast, it's going to be mega important in the World Championship this year, which I think is very exciting. And there's also the Player of the Year race, which is going to be decided.
Yeah.
That's coming back. It's been we haven't awarded it.
I was going to say,
past
Maria,
couple years.
Before we wrap this episode,
I'm
going to need you to give me who you think will win Player of the Year and who you think is going to win the World Championship.
Wow.
One of each.
Well, you're letting me choose first.
I am letting you choose first. You get to go first.
Wow. Okay. Well, the easy answer is, of course, Nathan Stoyer.
All right. You think Nathan Stoyer is going to be for Worlds or for Player of the Year
Nathan
or both?
Is going to win Player of the Year.
Okay.
Who's going to win the World Championship, though? I'm going to put my money on one Javier Dominguez. Because Javier is just a great player, did well at the last Pro Tour, and also is very good at Limited.
Yeah.
So, and he's been to this rodeo. He's been to this rodeo.
He has been to this rodeo.
So he's won this rodeo.
Yeah.
I think he can win the rodeo again.
Yeah. All right. I'm not gonna entirely flip it, but I'm gonna pick Javier as my Player of the Year.
Okay.
Like that. I thought that you were gonna nab that one from me.
Oh,
I'll be honest.
okay.
I was like, I had a moment of regret.
Woo.
But I feel like it's gonna be Javier. Although I will say that I had a brief consideration for second pick Reed.
Yeah. Because
I feel like
get it.
Reed's a really solid player, and like there's nothing wrong with like just picking a really solid player for Player of the Year.
By the way, everybody,
is so tight.
This race is not like just like Miss Congeniality. Like we're not just picking you are the Player of the Year. Like it's not like the Hall of Fame.
I wish that it was a Miss Congeniality.
Well, Reed would just win every year.
Yeah.
No, it's based on your performance over events. your scores.
Yeah.
Your wins.
Yes. It's very true.
So I just want to put that out there. Your scores. But who's going to win the whole tournament, though? You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. I've thought about this, and you know what? I'm going to go back to one of our standbys who has not had a stellar year in terms of being in a top 8, but is had enough of a good year to be playing this event, because of course he has. I'm picking Jean-Emmanuel Duprat. That's my slightly dark horse entry.
It's a good guess. It's certainly a good guess. JED knows how to rock a draft. That's
you know what?
For sure.
Exactly. You know what?
So
that's a good Magic player.
Well, if you want to find out which one of us is going to be right, or if we're both wrong, tune in this weekend. And if you're in Vegas, give us a high five if you see us walking around. We're going to be mainly cloistered in the the World Championship area of the event, which is not on the same floor as everything else, from what I understand. So you have to come up and see us.
But
come up there.
See the World Championship. Like I said, you can catch me in a panel on Saturday.
Yes.
Talking about Pro Tour highlights with BDM and a bunch of other great people who you know.
Excellent. So if you're at Vegas, go check out that panel. Come up to the World Championship. Wave to us if you see us out there. Ask us for a high five or to sign something. We would love to. It's a busy weekend for us, so we're not around as much as we would, honestly, as much as we would like to be.
But take the chance.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your opportunity.
That's the chance.
You might not come across us again.
I might not hear you. You might really have to wave your arms because I've got an IFB in. But anyway, I am so looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a super cool event. I'm excited to see all of our friends again, to go to all the parties. I mean, hopefully, if I'm not too destroyed and tired.
We got to go check out BDM's cocktails.
But BDM's doing a cocktails and commanders party, which sounds awesome.
Yes.
He's made cocktails for us before on the show, and they were great.
They were so good.
He posts them on the internet all the time.
He literally made cocktails using some like tools that he picked up at the thrift store.
Yeah.
And some stuff from like a brief grocery store run.
DJ Frodo's going to be back.
That's right.
Spinning some weird 45s.
Some weird. Do you know what? I will say, not everyone was into it. I dug it.
I mean, yes, I would go to a weird vibe. Of course, it's a Magic event.
It's a weird vibe.
I don't want a party club atmosphere. I don't think anybody does. Like we don't do that.
Maria, people did.
Well,
those people.
I'm just saying we're Magic players. I feel like
and have more energy.
We would be going to the club if that was the kind of people we are. But instead, we're playing cardboard games.
Yeah. Yep. Actually accurate.
So I'm just very, very excited for the Vegas experience and can't wait. So we'll see you on the other side of this, everybody. Next week, there's not going to be an upkeep because we're going to be traveling back from Vegas on that Monday.
But there will be an episode on
Tuesday recapping all of the shenanigans that happened. Yeah. So to us in the future, have a great show.
Well, everybody, that's our episode.
Yes, thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
We are so excited for the event this weekend and to talk about it all with you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to patrons. You can become a patron before our next episode and get the episode dedicated to yourself by going to patreon.com/GLHF Magic.
Thank you so much to MTG Pack a Day.
Yes.
Great habit.
Great habit, cracking a pack a day.
Very cool.
And thank you to Card Kingdom. Yeah. Check them out at cardkingdom.com/GLHF. They've been a fantastic sponsor for us. And get those cards to get them signed before Vegas.
Also, if you're like, hey, if you're like, hey, why should I become a patron? Maria has developed a taste for pumpkin spice.
That's true.
She's here with the pumpkin spice chai.
Yep.
She has transferred the taste for pumpkin spice to me. So please help us in this pumpkin spice season.
You can see that my cup says Meghan on it. That's not
true.
me though, but that is Meghan.
That is me. It is not spelled correctly, but it's okay. I didn't tell her how. Also, doesn't the handwriting she used really take you back to middle school?
Oh yeah,
it's got a really
perfect middle school vibe on this handwriting and a little smiley face.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So very well done.
All right.
I'm drinking a PCL, everybody. That's a chai latte, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I tried pumpkin spice for the first time last year.
Yeah,
I was converted instantly. I'm like, oh yeah, never mind, this stuff's really good.
There you go. Converted instantly.